So I'll just show the program now. Okay, so now the first part of it is I'm just creating one service here. Okay, so now this is an application where I have taken this app. And one thing is, whenever you are creating the services, don't directly create the services into your app folder. Okay, so you create one folder and try to store all the services into that particular folder, so that your program, that is your the project structure, will be having a clean structure of your project. So that is the reason I just created one folder, and within this particular folder I created the services. Okay, so now this is my service folder. In this I have created two services, that is, one is user and the other one is customer. So these are the two things which I have taken. So now what I'll do is I'll just create a service. To create a service, what I did, nggs service and the service name. So now I just took this particular service. So you can just see in this part of the service. Sorry. So I'm just taking this particular service, which is called as customer detail service. So in this part of the service, you can just see at injectable. So this decorator will give that this particular service can be injectable, so that it can be injectable in the component. And the second thing is provided in root, means it is indicating that this particular service which can be injected throughout your application. That's the reason it is given it as root. So throughout your application, it can be injected in any of the components. So now you have this is a method which, this is the array which I have, this is the method which I have declared, get customer details, and in that I have declared one array which is having the customer details, that is the customer ID and the customer name, and I'm returning this part of it. So this is my service. So after I create the service, I just wanted to inject this particular service into the my this thing. So what I did is I declared one component which is called as customer component. So is this part you are able to get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And now this is a service which has been created by giving ng-g. Okay, that is ng-g service, and the service name is customer service. Okay, so this is how ng. So this is how this particular service is being created. Okay, so in that particular service, this is a method which is called as get cust details is a method. Within that method, you have an array of customer details. Okay, and I'm returning the cust. So this the service is returning the customer details. So now I have a component which is called as customer component. So in this part of it, the component. So now I'm trying to inject it. So what is the name of the service? The name of the service is customer details service. So now I need to import this particular service here. I'm importing it, customer details service. That is the first step. After creating the service, I need to first import it. Then the second step, what I need to do is I need to create an instance of this particular service. Excuse me. I need to create an instance for this particular service. So I'm creating an instance in the constructor. So private, this is the name of the instance. And this instance I'm creating for the service which is called as customer details service. So after this part of it, what I'm doing is I'm declaring one property called as customer. And then I'm telling that with the help of this customer, that is the instance, I'm calling with the help of this particular service instance, I am trying to call the method which is there declared in this particular service. So what was the method that I have declared in the service? So the method is called as get cust details. So now with the help of this service instance, service instance dot, I'm calling that, invoking that particular method. So now the whatever the data I'm trying to get from this particular method, because it is returning the customer details, so that I need to store. So I'm using this particular property called as customer, and I'm trying to store this in this. So now the first thing is, after creating the service, what I did, I imported the service, then I created an instance for that particular service. With the help of the instance, I'm trying to invoke the method which has been written in the service. So since the service is returning some data, I'm trying to store it in this particular property called as customer. So now the component, the service has been injected into this particular component called as customer component. So now I need to display the output of this. So I'm just going to the customer component HTML, and I'm just giving, I just gave it as JSON because I wanted to display that data in the form of JSON format. So I have just given this part of it. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just compile this and show it to you. So now. So now in this, when I click on this particular link, I'm just getting the data. That is, the data is in the form of JSON format. So the data what you get from the API will be in the form of JSON format. Now you need to understand this particular format and try to access that particular URL and try to retrieve it. So now just assume that this is a service, because now this is not actually a service, it is coming from the component. This format, this data is coming from the component. So let us assume that this is only the service. The service is giving you this information. Okay, now to access this particular data from the service, you need to identify from where exactly the service you are getting the service. So this will be the URL of that particular service. So similarly here you can see that this data, whatever you are getting, this is written in the service part of it. So that is what you are trying to access it here. Okay, so this is how you can just access it. So now this is my data, so I'm trying to access it. So I'll just show you how to do that part of it. So this part is clear. Any doubts in this part?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so this is clear now for all of you?
All of you? Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, fine. So now the next part of it we'll just see is, now I'll try to use the HTTP request. Okay, so I'll try to use the HTTP request and I'll try to get the information from the API. So I'll take that API which I just showed you now. I will try to use that particular API itself, and I'll try to retrieve the information. So now how do I try to retrieve that information? We'll just look into that. I'll just show you that how to do that part of it. So now, okay. So now if I just wanted to retrieve that particular information, what I need to do? Now it is HTTP client. So now it is HTTP client. So why you are using this particular HTTP client? What is the use of it? So now you are the client. How exactly this HTTP client will help you out is, it will help you to communicate between the server and the client. So the main intention of this is to communicate between the server and the client. So now what exactly this HTTP client will also do is, it will help you to communicate between the server and the client. So this is the first thing which it will do. And the next part of it is, it is used to perform the HTTP request as well as the response. So it is the next part of it. It will help you to retrieve, help you to request as well as to get the response. So now we thought that Angular is a single page application. So how exactly this request and service may be working in this, if it is a single page application? How is it working in Angular?
Pardon, ma'am.
See this, how is the request and response working in Angular? See, if it is a, yeah.
In JavaScript, we have promises and async await.
Okay, I'm not going to the depth of the technology part of it. Now, in general, how is exactly the request and the response has been taken care in Angular?
We perform an action, an event, and on that event, a request goes to the server, and it fetches the data and returns it to our client machine.
So, okay, maybe on click of a button, you are requesting it. So the request goes there. Then how is it responding? See, if it is a normal web application, what exactly is happening? For every request, the response is in the form of an HTML file. Okay, so it may be in the form of an HTML file, or it may be in the form of any other files also. So I'm not, I'm just taking it as HTML file. For every request, so in a normal traditional applications, what exactly happened? For every request, the response will be in the form of a HTML file. But whereas in an Angular, for every request, the response is not in the form of an HTML. The response is in the form of JavaScript. But that JavaScript, it may be in the form of which has been rendered into the HTML browser. Okay, so what exactly is happening? For every request, it is not creating any file. It is not sending the file. It is only sending the data. You understood that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and something, some file came. Okay, now here, when I just click on this earth, what exactly is happening? This is a request. I'm sending a request to the server. What exactly happened after sending a request to the server? It has sent me a response. I got it as earth index.html, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So now I'll just click on something else. So this is the request. So what I got? Again, I got index.html file where from the folder solve/index. So for every request, I am getting as a response, I'm getting a file only, HTML file. So what exactly is happening? For every request, there is a page reload. Every request, I'm able to see that the page is refreshing, the page is reloaded. So now I'll click on this particular one about NASA. See how much time it is taking. What happened? Again, I got one more file about/html index.html. So for every request, the response is in the form of a HTML file. Okay. So now I will just go to some other site. Maybe I'll just take Angular itself. So I'm just taking the Angular site itself. So you can just see in this part of it. So this is my URL. This is the URL. So now I'll just click on this events. So what did you get any HTML file?
No, ma'am.
Click on
No, ma'am.
resource. See?
No, ma'am. Only the component is changing.
Yeah. So it is only displaying, it's just sending the component. Okay. So now, so HTTP client in Angular. So what exactly HTTP client will do is it will try to process the request and send the response. So to do this part of it, you need to have one particular service, that is you need to use HTTP client module. So you need HTTP client module. So you need to import this particular module, and you also need this HTTP client. So these things you need. So you need HTTP client and HTTP module. And the second part of it is, from where is this HTTP client and module is available? It is available in at Angular common. So it is there in the common module. So you need to import these two things. Okay, so after importing these two things, there are a lot of methods in HTTP, the HTTP methods. So now for time being, I'm just explaining the get method, then later on we'll just see the other methods. Okay, so now we are trying to use this particular get method. I'll just show you one example how to exactly use this particular get method. So you need to import these two things, that is, one is HTTP client module and the other one is HTTP client. So here in this part of it is, first thing is, whenever you are creating, you need to first import your HTTP module into app module. Okay, so that is the first part of it. What you can do is, so now in the app module, so first thing is you import this part of it, that is import HTTP client from at Angular common HTTP. So you import this particular module and just see that if it is not added in the imports, you just add that into the imports. So this is the first step which you need to do it. Second thing is you need to import the HTTP client in the service. So you need to, when you are writing the service, this is what is that you are doing it in the app module. App module, you are trying to import this HTTP client. So second thing is you are going to create a service, the second step. So when you are trying to create a service, what exactly you need to do is, I'm just writing one particular service. Okay, so I'm just using this user service. So in this part of the user service, what I did is I need to import this HTTP client. So this header and all, I'll tell you later what is the use of this. So next, second thing is I need to import HTTP client from at Angular common HTTP. This is the second part. Please make a note of it. Okay, so this will be the second part of it. So first thing is what you need to do, you need to import HTTP client module in app.module. And the second thing is you need to import HTTP client into the service. So after this part of it is being done, so now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use that particular HTTP client. I'm trying to create an instance for this HTTP client. So now in the constructor of the service, what I did is I declared private. This is the instance name. I have given it as HTTP. You can give whatever name you want. So I just gave it as HTTP. And I'm creating an instance for this particular HTTP client. So this is the instance which I have created in the constructor. So after creating the instance, then the next part of it is, now what exactly I'm trying to do here is, so I'm just telling return, okay, this dot, that is the HTTP instance dot get. So I'm just using the get method here. So now this is the get method which I'm trying to use it to get the information from that particular URL. So now I'll just go back to this one. So here and this JSON, this one, I am trying to get the information about the user. I just want the user. So, okay, so I'll just click on this. So now this is my URL. So I'm copying this URL and I am trying to paste it here. It is not copying. Okay, so now I copied this URL here, and this is my API. So I pasted it this, return this dot, this is the instance dot get, and I'm trying to retrieve this particular information here. Is it clear now? Understood this?
Yes, ma'am. Please repeat it once again, ma'am.
Okay. So what I did is, this is my service. In the service, I have created an instance for the HTTP client. This is the HTTP client. I have created an instance. So the instance name is HTTP. Okay, now what I want to do is, I wanted to access the API. So for that, I'm trying to use a get method to access it. So this dot, the instance HTTP dot get, this is the instance which I am trying to use it. So that is the reason I just took this part of it. So this is the one which I'm trying to use it. So this is where I am writing this part of it. Okay. So this is where I have written this part of it. So now, okay. So now, because these things, just write only the URL part of it. Don't write all these things. I'll just let you know what it is. Okay. So you write this URL. Okay, so after you finish this part of it, then the next step, what you need to do is you need to inject this particular service, that user service, into a component. So I'm having one component here. So in this part of it, I'm importing the service. So this is a user service which I have created. I'm trying to import this. That is, I'm trying to inject it now. So after importing this, now I'm trying to inject this into the component by creating an instance of this particular service. So user service colon username. So this is the user service. This is where I'm trying to access it. Now what I'm doing is, this dot user service, this instance dot get user. Get user is the method which I have declared in the okay. So get users. Okay, fine. This part of it is, now what I'm just doing is, if I just give get users, what exactly happens is, it is trying to just tell you that here you have an observable. So now what I need to do is, when I'm having an observable, I need to use subscribe. Okay, this part of it of observable and subscribe and all these things, I'll be explaining in the next section. That is when I'm explaining RxJS, because these terminologies are in RxJS, you'll only be learning about observables, subscribers, and all these things. So I'll be explaining in detail there, and we will be doing the programs also in RxJS. Okay. So now, any you people, do you have any idea about what exactly is observable?
No, ma'am.
Anyone?
Ma'am, it is like promise.
Means
Ma'am, in JavaScript, we have promises.
what is it doing?
When we use any API, then it returns a promise.
Okay, but here, what exactly observable, the meaning of observable is, it is by, as the name it indicates, it is observing something. So what exactly this, in short, I'll tell you, but I'll go into the depth of the part
Ma'am,
of it
it's
when I'm
watching.
explaining. Pardon me?
Ma'am, it's watching regularly.
Yes, correct. So observable is watching regularly, in the sense the data is frequently changing. Okay, as the data is going to change, it is trying to observe that. But how exactly this observe, whenever it is being observing the data is going on changing, so you need to have that part of it to catch that, to retrieve that information. So how is it able to retrieve? So what is that it is doing? It is subscribing. So subscribe will help you to do one small simple example. So all of you watch YouTube. Okay, so
Yes.
as and when you are watching the YouTube, only one thing is, in the starting, in the middle, in the end, they will be telling, click on the bell icon, subscribe it, like it, share it, and all these things. Why are they asking you to subscribe? What is the information? What is the need of subscribe there? So what is that person, that YouTuber is doing frequently, daily he is going on uploading his videos. So there is a change every day. There is a change in the channel. What is the change in the channel? Every day one YouTube, what is that? Video has been going on uploading. So every day there is a change. So the observable is observing that. After that part of it, somebody should be able to get that information. So what they're doing, they're asking us to subscribe. So when you subscribe, what exactly happens? The data, whatever has been changing in the observable, you will be able to retrieve that data. That is, you are able to retrieve that information. So when you subscribe, you'll get a notification that whenever he is uploading, whenever there is a change, you get this message, notification message. So that is the reason you're going to subscribe. That is the best example of observable and subscribe. So you'll be able to get that information. Okay, so now what we are trying to do is, so now here I'm importing the services. Now here the this is a constructor where I'm trying to use the instance of this particular service. So now since it is giving me observable here, I have written subscribe. So I'm subscribing it, the data. So I'm able to get that particular data here. So this is how I can just retrieve that particular information from that particular service. So is it clear? So are we able
Yes,
to
ma'am.
get this information? So now let me
Ma'am,
just.
can you please show the service.ts,
Yes,
please, ma'am?
yes. I'll show you once again. Okay. I'll explain once again. See, first step by
Ma'am,
step.
only the file, ma'am. User.service.ts, ma'am.
Okay. So you don't take into consideration this part of it. I'll just let you know this part later on. So you just can see, all of you, please don't consider this part of it observable, because I'll tell you why I have written this observable later. So now just consider that there is a method get users. There is only a method called as get users method. In that particular method, what I'm doing is I am using this .http, that is nothing but this instance .get, and I am passing this particular URL. That's all, nothing else. Okay, I'll just tell you what it is. What you write in the service is, so just write the method get user. Okay, so just write the method get user. So in this, you just use this .http dot then get and write the URL. Only this much you do, that's enough. Only this. So you are going to give this .http, this is the instance of the HTTP client, then get is the method of HTTP client, and you are passing the URL. Which URL you are going to pass? You are going to pass this particular URL. Just pass this particular URL, that's all. Okay, just pass this URL. Only that much you do. Other things, don't do anything else apart from this. I will tell you what you are supposed to do later. So you just pass only this, return this .http, get only the URL. Okay, you just do that part of it. That's enough. And in the component, what you do is you try to declare the service instance. Then this dot service instance get users dot subscribe the data and just display that. I either use console, or if you want to display it in HTML component, you can just display it. So this dot user is equal to data. So this is what I have written now. So now when I just execute this, so what is happening? So when I click on this user list, this user list, I'm getting this particular data. So from where I'm getting this particular data? So in a component, I have written this in user component. I have just used ng4 and I'm just displaying it. Okay. And what is this data I'm getting here? This data, sorry. This data, what I'm getting is, you can just see here, compare this and just check. See here. This is what is the names, what I have given. So the same thing you are able to see here. See, you can just see this.